8 months after humanity joined the Galactic Council, Ambassador Lisa Bennett received an urgent message in the middle of the night. The message simply said that an emergency council session had been called, and all representatives needed to attend immediately. Bennett dressed quickly in her formal uniform and headed to the council chambers. Admiral Jake Morrison was already there, having been on Haven Prime for routine security consultations. They met outside the chamber doors. "Do you know what this is about?" Bennett asked quietly. "Nothing good," Morrison replied. "Emergency sessions are never good news." When they entered the chamber, they found chaos. Delegates from hundreds of worlds were shouting and arguing. Translation devices struggled to keep up with all the different languages being spoken at once. High Magistrate Thonrak was trying to restore order, but no one was listening to him. Bennett found Counselor Vrina floating near a side wall, away from the main commotion. "What happened?" Bennett asked. Vrina's tentacles moved in agitated patterns that showed she was very upset. "The Krell Empire has issued an ultimatum. They are demanding that humanity be expelled from the Council immediately. They want Earth designated as a restricted world with no contact allowed." "On what grounds?" Morrison demanded, his expression hardening. "They claim you are a threat to galactic stability," Vrina explained. "They have spent the last 8 months gathering support from other militaristic species. They argue that humanity advances too quickly, that you are too aggressive, that you will eventually dominate the galaxy if you are not stopped now." Bennett felt anger rising in her chest but forced herself to stay calm. "We have honored every part of the treaty. We have shared technology. We have participated peacefully. What threat do we actually pose?" "The threat of change," Vrina said quietly. "Many species are uncomfortable with how quickly you have integrated into galactic society. You have made friends. You have formed alliances. You have changed cultural attitudes. The old powers like the Krell Empire do not like it." Before they could discuss further, a massive holographic projection appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Emperor Krellzak himself, the supreme leader of the Krell Empire. He was enormous even in hologram form, with scales that glowed bright red with aggression. "Esteemed Council," his voice boomed through the chamber, "the Krell Empire has protected galactic peace for 3,000 years. We have maintained order. We have prevented chaos, and we recognize threats when we see them." The chamber fell quiet as everyone listened. "Humanity must be contained," Krellzak continued. "In less than 1 year, they have advanced their technology by 40%. They have expanded their manufacturing capabilities. They have built new ships and new weapons. They are clearly preparing for war." Admiral Morrison stepped forward. "We are preparing to defend ourselves. Given that your empire invaded us without provocation, I think that is reasonable." "You see?" Krellzak gestured at Morrison. "They admit they are militarizing. They are a danger to everyone." "We are defending our home," Morrison said firmly. "That is our right as a sovereign species." "A right we are here to revoke," Krellzak declared. "The Krell fleet is approaching Haven Prime now. We will take custody of the human delegation and transport them back to Earth. Your planet will be quarantined." "This is not negotiable." Suddenly, the station's alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. "Unknown vessels approaching Haven Prime," announced the station's computer system, identifying signatures as Krell military fleet. "Count 47 warships. Estimated arrival time 39 minutes. The chamber erupted in panic. Some delegates started shouting. Others rushed toward the exits. A few simply stood in shock. High Magistrate Thonrak's skin turned dark purple, showing extreme alarm. "Emperor Krellzak, are you attempting to intimidate the Council with a military demonstration? This is highly inappropriate." "I am demonstrating the necessity of action," Krellzak replied coldly. "The Krell fleet will enforce our ultimatum. Humanity will be removed from the Council, and Earth will be isolated. This is for the good of the galaxy." Bennett felt her heart pounding but kept her voice steady. "Admiral Morrison, what are our options?" Morrison touched his communication device. "Captain Rodriguez, status report." Rodriguez's voice came through immediately. "The human defense fleet is still 3 hours away from Haven Prime. We have defensive capabilities here at the embassy, but nothing that could fight a Krell battle group. We are significantly outgunned, so we are trapped," a delegate from the Viridian Collective said nervously. "Not necessarily," a new voice said. Lieutenant Amy Foster ran into the chamber, out of breath from running. She was carrying a datapad and looked excited despite the crisis. "Ambassador, we are receiving transmissions from across the galaxy," Foster reported. "Dozens of species are launching their own ships toward Haven Prime." "What?" Counselor Vrina pulled up the communication logs on her own display. Her tentacles went still with shock. "The Aquarians are sending their fleet. The Harmonious Collective is deploying ships. The Scholastic Order, the Viridian Merchants, even smaller species I have never heard of. They are all coming here. Why would they do that?" Thonrak asked in confusion. Foster started reading messages aloud. "The Aquarian High Council says that human medical research saved 12 million of their people from disease. They will not abandon Earth in its time of need. The Harmonious Collective says human art and culture have enriched their society, and they stand with humanity. The Viridians say that humans are the most honest trading partners they have ever worked with." More messages kept appearing on the displays throughout the chamber. "The Crystalline Collective says humans taught them to appreciate beauty and violence, which helped them understand their own nature better," Foster continued. "The Scholastic Order says human philosophy has opened new areas of research. Dozens of species are saying they will not allow humanity to be bullied." Emperor Krelzak's hologram flickered with what might have been surprise. "You would risk war with the Krell Empire over these newcomers?" "If necessary," Counselor Vrina said, and her voice was firm. She looked surprised at her own words, but she did not take them back. "Emperor, when humanity first joined the Council, I feared them. I thought they would be a threat. But I was wrong about what kind of threat they represent." "What do you mean?" Krelzak demanded. "Humans are dangerous," Vrina admitted, "but not because they are violent. They are dangerous because they make us want to be better than we are. They share their knowledge freely. They help without asking for payment. They create beauty and share it with everyone. They face challenges with optimism and courage. And they treat us as equals and friends, not as rivals or subjects." High Magistrate Thonrak stood tall in his floating chair, all four of his arms spread wide. "The Galactic Council officially recognizes Earth as a sovereign member species under our full protection. Any attack on Haven Prime or on Earth itself will be considered an act of war against the entire Council." "You are making a mistake," Krelzak warned. "Humanity will grow too powerful. They will dominate you all eventually." Ambassador Bennett stepped forward, moving to stand directly in front of the holographic projection. "Emperor Krelzak, you are right that humans advance quickly. You are right that we adapt and innovate at rates that frighten other species. But you are completely wrong about why." "Explain," Krelzak growled. "We do not advance to dominate others," Bennett said clearly. "We advance because we are curious, because we are driven, because we refuse to accept limitations. Yes, we are capable of great violence when threatened, but we are even more capable of great friendship when given the chance. Look at what is happening right now." She gestured to the displays showing incoming ships from dozens of different species. "Species that barely knew us 8 months ago are risking their fleets to defend us. Not because we are strong, although we are. Not because they fear us, although perhaps they should. But because we have proven ourselves to be trustworthy allies. We have shared our knowledge. We have celebrated their cultures. We have shown them respect and friendship. That is what humanity brings to the galaxy, Emperor, not conquest, cooperation." Admiral Morrison stepped up beside Bennett. "Our defense fleet will arrive in less than 3 hours now. If your fleet attacks Haven Prime, they will be caught between the Council's allied forces and very angry humans defending their friends. Our ships are fast, our weapons are effective, and our crews are highly motivated. Are you really prepared to fight all of us?" The silence that followed was heavy and tense. Everyone in the chamber held their breath, waiting to see what the Krell Emperor would decide. Finally, Krelzak's scales shifted from bright red to a more neutral green color. "The Krell fleet will withdraw. But understand this, humans. The galaxy will be watching you. If you ever become the threat I believe you to be, we will act." "We understand," Bennett said. "And we welcome the observation. We have nothing to hide. Watch us for as long as you like. You will see that Earth wants peace and friendship, not war and domination." Krelzak's hologram flickered and disappeared. Moments later, the station's sensors showed the Krell fleet beginning to turn away from Haven Prime. The council chamber erupted in relieved cheers and excited. 3 days passed after the initial presentation to the Galactic Council. During that time, the humans stayed in special quarters on the space station called Haven Prime. The quarters were designed for high-gravity species, so the humans felt comfortable there. But they knew that outside their rooms the entire galaxy was talking about them. On the fourth day, formal negotiations began. Admiral Jake Morrison led the human team into a large conference room deep inside the station. With him came Commander Lisa Bennett, Major Sarah Collins, Lieutenant Chris Martinez, and several other specialists. They wore their formal uniforms, clean and pressed with their medals polished. On the other side of a long table sat representatives from the most powerful species in the galaxy. High Magistrate Thonrak led the council delegation. Beside him sat Councillor Vrina, whose tentacles moved slowly in patterns that showed she was thinking carefully. There were also representatives from the Aquarian Collective, the Harmonious Fleet, the Viridian Corporations, and a dozen other major powers. "Let us begin," Thonrak said formally. "Admiral Morrison, the Council has discussed Earth and humanity at length over the past 3 days. We have many questions and concerns." "I am here to address them," Morrison replied calmly. "First," Thonrak continued, "we need to understand your military strength. The Krell battle fleet that attacked Earth was powerful enough to conquer most civilizations in the galaxy. Yet you defeated them easily. We need complete honesty about your capabilities." Morrison nodded to Major Sarah Collins, who stood and activated a holographic display. It showed Earth's solar system with hundreds of small dots scattered throughout. "Our defensive network consists of 347 orbital platforms," Collins explained. "Each platform carries railguns, particle beam weapons, and various missile systems. We can defend against threats from any direction. We also maintain a fleet of 87 capital ships, 312 destroyer-class vessels, and over 2,000 fighter craft." The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "That is a significant military force for a species claiming to be peaceful," observed a representative from the Harmonious Fleet, a species that believed in absolute pacifism except for self-defense. "We are peaceful," Commander Bennett stated firmly, "but we are not helpless. There is a difference. After the first contact with the Zorgon scouts 47 years ago, we decided we would never be caught unprepared again." "The Zorgon incident?" Frina asked. "We have no record of this." Lieutenant Amy Foster, the human intelligence officer, spoke up. 47 years ago, a Zorgon scouting party landed in a rural area of our planet. They abducted 6 humans for study. They planned to examine us and report back to their fleet about whether Earth was worth conquering. "What happened?" Thonrak asked. "The humans they captured escaped," Foster said simply. "They overpowered their guards, took control of the scout ship, and flew it back to Earth. Our scientists spent the next 10 years reverse engineering the technology. That is how we developed our first faster-than-light communication systems." The council chamber filled with shocked murmurs. "You stole Zorgon technology?" a counselor demanded. "They stole our people," Foster replied. "We considered it a fair trade. Plus, the Zorgons never came back, so we assumed they understood the message." Counselor Vrina pulled up data on her personal display. "Our analysts have reviewed your technological capabilities. Your reactor designs are less efficient than ours, but they work. Your weapons are crude but effective. However, your computer systems are surprisingly advanced. In some ways, they exceed our own capabilities." "How is this possible?" "We are very good with computers," explained Lieutenant Greg Patterson, the human technology specialist. "We have been building them for over 100 years. We use them for everything: entertainment, communication, research, warfare. We have pushed computer technology further than most species because we needed it for our complex civilization." "And your medical science," Rena continued. "Dr. Krelix reviewed your medical databases. You can cure diseases that kill millions of our people every year. You can reattach severed limbs. You can replace failing organs with artificial ones or organs from other humans. Your medical technology is centuries ahead of ours in many areas." Dr. Linda Walsh, the human medical representative, nodded. "When you live on a planet that constantly tries to kill you, you get very good at keeping people alive. We have been fighting disease, injury, and death for thousands of years. We have learned a lot in that time. But why are you so motivated?" asked an Aquarian representative, a being that looked like a large fish with multiple fins. "Most species accept death as natural. You seem to fight against it with everything you have." "Because we hate it," Walsh said simply. "Humans form strong emotional bonds with each other. When someone we love dies, it hurts us deeply, So we have spent our entire history trying to prevent death, delay it, fight it. We study medicine not just as science but as a personal mission to save the people we care about. High Magistrate Thonrock leaned forward. This brings us to the important question. Admiral Morrison, what does humanity want from the Galactic Council? Morrison met his gaze steadily. We want three things. First, we want recognition as a sovereign species with full territorial rights to our solar system. No other species may enter our space without permission. Reasonable, Thonrock acknowledged. Second, we want access to galactic trade networks and knowledge databases. We want to learn from you, trade with you, and share what we know. Also reasonable, Vrina agreed. Third, we want a formal treaty guaranteeing that no species will attempt another invasion of Earth or human-occupied space. If anyone attacks us, we want the Council's support. That is all? Thonrock sounded surprised. You do not want territory? Resources? Political power? We have plenty of resources in our own solar system, Morrison explained. We have asteroids full of minerals. We have energy from our sun. We have everything we need to grow and prosper. We do not need to take from others. We just want to be left in peace and allowed to participate in galactic civilization as equals. The council members consulted with each other quietly. After several minutes, Councillor Vrina spoke. The Council is prepared to grant your first and third requests. We recognize Earth as sovereign territory, and we will guarantee your safety. However, unrestricted access to our databases is problematic. There are dangerous technologies in those databases, weapons that could destroy planets, biological agents that could kill billions. We cannot give that information to a species we barely know. Commander Bennett's expression became hard. Counselor, we already have access to your databases. The room fell completely silent. Explain, Thonrock demanded, his skin turning orange with alarm. We have been monitoring galactic communications for 23 years, Bennett stated calmly. Ever since we repaired that Zorgon scout ship. We have been listening to your broadcasts, reading your public networks, and learning your languages. We know about your history, your politics, your technologies. You have been spying on us for over 2 decades? Vrina's voice was cold. We have been protecting ourselves by staying informed, Morrison corrected. When we first detected galactic communications, we did not know if the species out here were friendly or hostile. So we listened. We learned. And what we learned concerned us greatly. What do you mean? Thonrock asked. Major Nick Campbell stood and brought up another display. It showed a list of over 40 species names. These are the species in the Galactic Council that have protocols for integrating less advanced civilizations, Campbell explained. Integration usually means taking control of the planet's resources, suppressing local culture, and essentially making the native population into second-class citizens or workers. 47 different species in this room have done this to other worlds. The council members could not deny it. It was public record. So forgive us for being cautious, Morrison said. We saw what happened to other species who revealed themselves before they were ready. We decided to stay hidden until we were strong enough to defend our independence. Commander Zixthor forced us to reveal ourselves earlier than we planned, but we were already prepared. You could have announced your presence peacefully, Thonrock argued. Could we? Captain Helen Price challenged. What would have happened if we had sent a simple message saying, hello, we are humans from Earth, we are new here? How many of those 47 species would have immediately sent ships to investigate? How many would have seen us as a resource to exploit? No one answered because they all knew she was right. We are not the villains in this story, Morrison said quietly. We are just a young species trying to survive in a dangerous galaxy. We have learned from watching you. We have prepared ourselves, and now we are ready to join you as equals, not as victims or conquerors, but as partners. Counselor Vrina was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke carefully. You have already accessed our databases without permission. You have been watching us for years. You have technologies we do not fully understand. Why should we trust you? Because we are being honest with you now, Morrison replied. We could have kept hiding. We could have continued spying without telling you. But we want a real relationship with the galactic community. 6 months passed since humanity signed the treaty with the Galactic Council. In that time, the human embassy on Haven Prime had become one of the most popular places on the entire space station. Commander Lisa Bennett, now serving as Earth's ambassador, stood in the main hall and watched hundreds of aliens standing in a long line outside the building. I thought we were starting a diplomatic mission, she said to Captain Jake Rodriguez, who had been assigned as the embassy's military officer. "This looks more like a tourist attraction." Rodriguez laughed. "Why not both? Cultural exchange was part of the treaty. We are just being very thorough about it." The embassy was a large building designed to look welcoming to both humans and aliens. One section had Earth standard gravity and atmosphere, where humans worked and lived. Other sections had adjustable environments so alien visitors could be comfortable. The main hall where Bennett stood was a compromise, with slightly lower gravity and a neutral atmosphere that most species could breathe with minimal assistance. Lieutenant Amy Foster ran up to Bennett with a datapad in her hands. "Ambassador, you need to see these numbers. Human entertainment has broken every distribution record in galactic history." "What do you mean?" Bennett asked. "Our movies, music, books, television shows, video games, everything," Foster explained excitedly. "We started offering them 6 months ago with translation. Now species from across the galaxy are buying them faster than we can translate them into new languages." "Which ones are most popular?" "Action movies are huge. Aliens love watching humans do impossible stunts and fight against overwhelming odds. Horror movies are also popular, because most species find them thrilling but not actually scary. And romantic comedies are the biggest surprise." "Romantic comedies?" Bennett raised her eyebrows. "Apparently, most galactic species choose their mates through genetic compatibility algorithms and family arrangements," Foster said. "The idea that humans pursue romantic relationships voluntarily, fall in love naturally, and sometimes choose partners who are not genetically ideal is fascinating to them." "They think it is incredibly romantic," Rodriguez grinned. "So we are exporting the idea of love?" "We are exporting the idea that love is a choice, not just biology," Foster corrected. "It is changing how some species think about relationships." Major Sarah Collins approached with her own list of concerns. "Ambassador, we have requests from various delegations. The Viridian group wants to try coffee. The Aquarian students want rock climbing lessons, and the Crystalline Collective wants to adopt a pet." "What kind of pet?" Bennett asked cautiously. "They watched videos of Earth animals and decided they want a goose." Rodriguez burst out laughing so hard he had to lean against the wall. "Have they actually met a goose?" Bennett asked. "I showed them videos," Collins said with a straight face. "They were impressed by what they called the goose's magnificent aggressive spirit and indomitable will. They think geese are perfect examples of Earth's warrior culture." "Absolutely not," Bennett decided. "Tell them they can adopt a duck instead. Ducks are friendly. Or a chicken. Chickens are practical. But no geese. I refuse to be responsible for unleashing geese on the galaxy." As the day continued, Bennett gave tours to various groups of aliens. Each group seemed amazed by different aspects of human culture. The Harmonious Collective was fascinated by human art and music. The Scholastic Order wanted to understand human philosophy and religion. The Viridian merchants were interested in human food and cooking. Counselor Vrina herself visited in the afternoon, floating through the halls with her glowing tentacles trailing behind her. She seemed particularly interested in the art gallery the humans had created. "I do not understand this painting," Vrina admitted, looking at a reproduction of a famous Earth artwork showing a historical battle. "It depicts violence and suffering. Why do you display such things as if they are beautiful?" Bennett stood beside her, looking at the painting thoughtfully. "Art helps us process difficult experiences. This painting shows a battle from our history. It was terrible. Many people died. But by creating art about it, we remember what happened. We honor the people who suffered. And we remind ourselves why we should work to prevent such things from happening again." "Most species try to forget violence," Vrina observed. "Humans commemorate it. We believe that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it," Bennett explained. "We remember our mistakes so we can learn from them. It is not always comfortable, but it is necessary." "Fascinating," Vrina murmured. "Your species has such a complicated relationship with your own past." Later, Bennett met with Dr. Linda Walsh in the embassy's medical wing. Walsh had been working with alien doctors for months, teaching them human medical techniques. "Ambassador, we are having an incredible impact," Walsh reported happily. "I have had 67 medical professionals from 40 different species studying with us. They are amazed by our surgical techniques and our pharmaceutical research." "That is wonderful," Bennett said. "But I assume you came to tell me something specific." "Several species have medical conditions we can actually help with," Walsh explained. The Viridians have a genetic disorder that is similar to a disease we cured 30 years ago. We can adapt our gene therapy to treat them. The Aquarians suffer from something that is essentially their version of cancer. Our oncology research is decades ahead of theirs. We can save millions of lives. Bennett felt warmth spread through her chest. So we are not just trading and negotiating. We are actually making a difference. A huge difference, Walsh confirmed. Turns out that surviving on a death world teaches you a lot about medicine. Our techniques for trauma care, disease treatment, and surgery are more advanced than most of the galaxy because we have been fighting to survive for our entire history. That evening, Bennett hosted a formal dinner for senior council members. The dining hall was set up with tables that could accommodate different body types. Some species sat in chairs. Others floated. Some required tanks of special liquid, but all of them were trying human food. High Magistrate Thonrak was eating something the humans called pasta. He chewed thoughtfully, his forearms moving in patterns that showed he was thinking. "This is remarkable," he said finally. "The combination of flavors is complex. Most galactic food is designed for pure nutrition. It tastes acceptable, but not particularly interesting. You actually make food that is enjoyable to eat?" Lieutenant Chris Martinez, who had organized the dinner, nodded enthusiastically. Food is very important in human culture. Every region of Earth has its own cooking traditions going back thousands of years. We put love and creativity into our food. "Love?" asked a delegate from the Scholastic Order, a species of small floating brains in protective shells. "You experience emotional attachment to food preparation?" "We experience emotion about everything," Martinez explained. "Cooking is not just chemistry and heat to us. It is art, it is tradition. It is a way to show care for people. When a human cooks for you, they are saying they want you to be happy and healthy. We have noticed that humans have many words for food preparation," the delegate observed. "Cooking, baking, grilling, frying, boiling, roasting, steaming. Why so many different terms?" "Because each method produces different results," Martinez said. "Baking uses dry heat in an enclosed space. Grilling uses direct heat from below. Frying uses hot oil. Each technique changes the texture, flavor, and appearance of food. We do not just eat to survive. We eat for pleasure, for cultural connection, for celebration." Counselor Vrina had been quiet during most of the meal, but now she spoke up. "Ambassador Bennett, I must confess something. When the Council first learned about humanity, many of us were frightened. Your military capabilities, your aggressive history, your rapid technological advancement, all of it seemed like a threat. And now?" Bennett asked carefully. "Now I realize we were looking at it wrong," Vrina said. "Yes, your capacity for violence is frightening. But your capacity for creation, compassion, and joy is equally strong. You make beautiful art. You create music that moves us emotionally. You write stories that make us think. You cook food that brings pleasure. You develop medicine that saves lives. You are not just warriors. You are builders and healers and artists." "We are all of those things," Bennett agreed. "Humans are complicated. We can be violent when threatened, but we prefer to be creative and peaceful when given the choice. That is what makes you dangerous in a different way." Vrina continued. "You make us want to be better. Your art challenges us to think differently. Your medicine shows us that we have been accepting deaths we could prevent. Your passion for life inspires us to care more deeply about our own experiences. You are changing the galaxy just by being yourselves." Bennett raised her glass, which contained a beverage that was safe for most species to drink. "To positive change, then, and to new friendships that make us all better." "To friendship," the assembled delegates echoed, raising their various drinking containers. As the evening continued, Bennett watched representatives from dozens of different worlds laughing and talking together. They were sharing stories about their home planets. They were trying each other's food. They were learning each other's customs. And at the center of it all was humanity. The emergency session of the Galactic Council continued for hours. The regular business of the galaxy stopped completely. Trade negotiations were put on hold. Diplomatic meetings were canceled. Everything could wait. The Council needed to understand what humans were and what they meant for the future of galactic civilization. Dr. Krelix floated to the center of the chamber. He was a gaseous being, his body a swirling cloud of colored vapor contained by a weak force field. He was the galaxy's leading expert on alien biology and species classification. He had studied thousands of different life forms across hundreds of worlds, but the data about humans confused him greatly. Honored Council, Krelix began, his voice coming from a speaker device attached to his containment field. I have spent the last 3 days reviewing all available information about humans and their planet Earth. I must confess that nothing makes logical sense. Explain. High Magistrate Thonrak commanded. Krelix brought up a holographic display showing planet Earth rotating slowly in space. It looked beautiful, with blue oceans and green land masses covered by white clouds. This is Earth, Krelix said. It appears peaceful and welcoming. But the truth is very different. Earth is what we classify as a death world, a planet so hostile that most species would die within hours of landing there. The council members leaned forward with interest. Even the humans smiled slightly as if they were proud of this description. First, the gravity, Krelix continued. Earth's gravity is 1.3 times our standard galactic norm. Most species in this chamber would be crushed by their own body weight on Earth's surface. Humans evolved under this pressure. Their bones are dense. Their muscles are strong. They can lift and carry weights that would be impossible for species twice their size. Lieutenant Karen Hughes, a human medical officer, nodded. We do not really think about it. It is just normal for us. But yes, we have noticed that most aliens we have met are much weaker than humans physically. Second, the atmosphere, Krelix went on. 21% free oxygen. This is an incredibly corrosive gas. It rusts metal. It breaks down organic compounds. Most species can tolerate perhaps 5 or 6% oxygen in their air. Humans need 21% just to survive. Their bodies burn fuel like powerful engines. Is that unusual? Asked Counselor Vrina. Very unusual, Krelix confirmed. It means humans have enormous energy available to their bodies. They can run for hours. They can fight for extended periods. They heal from injuries much faster than most species because their cells have so much energy to work with. Admiral Jake Morrison spoke up. We call it being active. Humans evolved as hunters. We chased our prey across long distances. We did not have claws or fangs or poison. We just ran after animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we caught them. Several council members made sounds of disgust or disbelief. Third, the weather, Krelix said, bringing up images of Earth's storms. Earth has violent weather patterns, hurricanes, tornadoes, electrical storms that release more energy than our weapons. Humans built their civilizations while dealing with natural disasters that would destroy most galactic colonies. We learned to build strong structures, Commander Lisa Bennett explained simply. If your house needs to survive storms that can throw vehicles through the air, you learn to build well. Fourth, and this is perhaps most concerning, Krelix continued, Earth is filled with hostile life forms. The planet has millions of species and many of them can kill humans. Poisonous insects, venomous snakes, predatory animals, microscopic organisms that cause disease. Humans evolved while constantly fighting for survival against thousands of threats. We have immune systems, Lieutenant Hughes added. Our bodies fight off infections constantly. Most humans carry billions of bacteria inside their bodies right now. We live in balance with them. But if a dangerous microbe enters our system, our immune system attacks and destroys it. You live with bacteria inside you? A counselor asked with horror. Billions of them, Hughes confirmed cheerfully. They help us digest food. They produce vitamins we need. We have a whole ecosystem living inside us. It is completely normal. The council chamber filled with uncomfortable murmurs. The idea of hosting billions of organisms inside one's body seemed horrifying to most species present. Dr. Krelix was not finished. But here is what troubles me most, Honored Council. Humans are simultaneously very fragile and nearly impossible to kill. They break easily. Their skin tears. Their bones crack. They bleed freely, but they do not stop. What do you mean? Thonrak asked. I have reviewed combat footage from the Krell invasion, Krelix explained. I have seen human soldiers continue fighting with injuries that would immediately kill most species. Broken bones, deep wounds, significant blood loss. They keep functioning through something they call adrenaline. Their bodies flood with chemicals that block pain, increase strength, and keep them conscious and fighting long after they should have collapsed. Major Nick Campbell, a human military officer, stepped forward. It is a survival mechanism. When we are in danger, our bodies give us extra strength and energy to either fight or run away. We call it the fight-or-flight response. It can make humans do extraordinary things. Extraordinary and terrifying, Krelix muttered. I have reports of a human female who lifted a vehicle off her child who was trapped underneath. The vehicle weighed over 1,000 kilograms. This should be physically impossible, yet multiple witnesses confirmed it happened. Humans are very protective of their children, Admiral Morrison said quietly. We will do anything to keep them safe. Counselor Vrina spoke up. Dr. Krelix, you mentioned that humans are intelligent. Tell us about their mental capabilities. Ah, yes, Krelix said, bringing up new data. Human intelligence is unusual. They are not the smartest species in the galaxy. Their individual brain power is average, perhaps slightly above average. But they are extremely good at pattern recognition, abstract thinking, and creative problem solving. Creative? Another counselor asked. Humans do not just learn from experience, Krelix explained. They imagine. They pretend. They create scenarios in their minds that have never happened and plan for them. This is how they prepared for alien contact before it ever occurred. They imagined it. They wrote stories about it. They made plans for situations that were completely theoretical. We call it science fiction, Captain Helen Price said with a smile. We have been writing stories about meeting aliens for hundreds of years. Some of those stories included alien invasions, so when Commander Zixthor actually invaded, we already had strategies prepared. You prepared for a war you thought might never happen? Thonrak asked incredulously. We prepared for many things that might never happen, Price confirmed. Natural disasters, economic collapse, disease outbreaks, alien invasion, asteroid impacts. We imagine the worst possible scenarios and then prepare for them. It is what humans do. Dr. Krelix continued. Humans are also unique in how they developed. Most intelligent species evolve on a single continent, develop a single civilization, and eventually reach space. Humans developed multiple independent civilizations on different continents. They were separated by oceans and had no contact with each other for thousands of years. So, asked a counselor, so they developed different languages, different cultures, different technologies, all on the same planet. And then they fought each other. For thousands of years, humans waged war against other humans. They competed. They innovated. They constantly tried to outsmart and outfight each other. The council members absorbed this information with growing unease. Let me understand, Thonrak said slowly. Humans are a species that evolved on a death world, where they constantly fought to survive against a hostile environment and dangerous life forms. They developed multiple warrior cultures that fought each other for millennia, constantly improving their weapons and strategies. They are physically stronger than most species due to high gravity. They have enormous energy from breathing corrosive oxygen. They can keep fighting through injuries that would kill others. And they prepare for threats that do not even exist yet. That is an accurate summary, Admiral Morrison confirmed. And now you want to join the Galactic Council? Vrina asked quietly. Morrison looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many counselors as he could. We do not want to conquer anyone. We do not want to fight. We have spent the last 100 years learning to work together as one species. We stopped fighting each other and started building together. We reached our moon. We explored our solar system. And then Commander Zixthor arrived and reminded us that the universe might not be safe. So you defeated him to send a message, Thonrak observed. We defeated him because he attacked us, Morrison corrected. But yes, we also wanted to send a message. We wanted any other species thinking about invading Earth to know that we can defend ourselves. We are not victims. We are not easy prey. We are humans, and we survived everything our planet threw at us. We will survive anything the galaxy throws at us too. The silence that followed was long and heavy. Every being in that chamber understood that the galaxy had just changed. A new species had arrived, one that combined intelligence with strength, creativity with determination, and peace with the ability to wage terrible war. The massive hall of the Galactic Council fell into complete silence. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy stopped talking and turned their attention to the front. Some had multiple eyes, others had no eyes at all. Some breathed oxygen. Others floated in specialized tanks filled with liquid. But all of them shared one thing in that moment: complete shock. Commander Zixthor of the Krell Empire stood at the center of the chamber. His tall reptilian body seemed smaller than usual. His scales, normally bright and colorful, had turned a dull gray color that showed his shame. He had been a military commander for over 30 years, leading successful campaigns across dozens of star systems. But today he stood before the council to explain his greatest failure. Next to him stood 3 humans: Admiral Jake Morrison was a tall man with gray hair and weathered skin. His dark blue uniform was covered with medals and symbols that meant nothing to most aliens in the room. Beside him stood Commander Lisa Bennett, a woman with sharp eyes and perfect posture. Behind them both stood Captain Helen Price, younger than the others but with the same confident look in her eyes. The leader of the council, High Magistrate Thonrak, leaned forward in his floating chair. His species had 4 arms and skin that changed colors based on his emotions. Right now his skin showed deep purple, which meant he was very confused and concerned. "Commander Zixthor," Thonrak said, his voice coming through translation devices that everyone wore. "You were sent to explore Sector 447. Your mission was simple. Find primitive worlds and offer them a chance to join our galactic community peacefully. What happened?" Zixthor's voice shook as he spoke. "Honored Magistrate, we found a planet orbiting a yellow star. Our scanners showed a developing civilization. They had basic technology, radio waves, simple satellites, primitive aircraft. According to all our data, they were barely starting to explore their own planet. We classified them as a Class 2 civilization, maybe Class 3 at best." Another council member, Counselor Vrina, spoke up. She belonged to a species that looked like floating jellyfish, with long tentacles and a body that glowed softly. "That sounds like a standard first contact situation. What went wrong?" Zixthor's scales turned even duller. "We followed normal procedures. We sent a diplomatic message but received no response. We assumed they could not understand our communication. So we moved to the next step in the protocol." "Which is?" asked another counselor. "A show of force," Zixthor admitted quietly. "We moved our battle fleet into orbit around their planet. It is standard practice. Most primitive species see our ships and understand they should cooperate." Admiral Morrison made a small sound that might have been a laugh, but he said nothing. "And then?" Thonrak demanded. "And then they destroyed 17 of our warships in the first 6 minutes. The council chamber exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in hundreds of different languages. The translation devices struggled to keep up with all the shocked exclamations. "Impossible," shouted one counselor. "A Class 2 civilization cannot defeat Krell warships," yelled another. Thonrak raised all 4 of his arms, calling for silence. "Please explain how this happened, Commander." Zixthor looked like he wanted to disappear. "Their planet had defensive systems we did not detect. Satellites with weapons, stations hidden among their orbital debris. When we entered their space, they activated everything at once. Our ships were hit by kinetic weapons moving at incredible speeds. Metal slugs accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. They tore through our shields like they were nothing." "But your sensors," Vrina said. "Krell sensors are among the best in the galaxy. How did you miss these weapons?" Lieutenant Greg Patterson, a young human in a different uniform, spoke for the first time. He had been quiet until now, standing behind the other humans. "Our cloaking technology is not advanced. We simply used basic electromagnetic shielding and kept our weapons powered down until we needed them. Your sensors were looking for active threats. We gave you nothing to find. You hid weapons in plain sight?" another counselor asked. "We put satellites exactly where satellites should be," Patterson explained. "Your people saw what they expected to see. Old satellites, space debris, abandoned equipment. You never considered that we might be watching you the whole time." Zixthor continued his report, his voice getting quieter. "We attempted to withdraw to a safer distance and bombard their cities from far away. This is also standard protocol when facing unexpected resistance. And," Thonrak prompted, "they shot down every single missile we launched. Then they launched their own weapons at us. Primitive chemical rockets, according to our scans. We were not concerned, but these rockets carried nuclear fusion warheads." More shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Nuclear weapons were considered ancient technology by galactic standards, but they were still incredibly dangerous. "We lost 43 more ships in the bombardment," Zixthor said. "We tried to retreat, but they pursued us. Their fighters moved faster than our calculations predicted. Their pilots flew in ways that should have killed them from the acceleration forces, but they kept coming." Admiral Morrison finally spoke, his voice calm and casual. "We call them G-forces. Our pilots train in special equipment to handle high gravity. A human pilot can survive forces that would kill most species in this room. It is not comfortable, but we manage. By the time we escaped their solar system," Zixthor concluded, "I had lost 68% of my fleet. 3,000 soldiers were dead or captured. and we never even landed on their planet. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Counselor Vrina looked at the humans with new understanding in her large eyes. Let me make sure I understand correctly. You are telling us that Earth, a planet we did not even know about, destroyed a Krell battle fleet? Not just destroyed, Commander Bennett said with a slight smile. We also captured 12 of their ships intact. We are currently studying their technology. You what? Several counselors shouted at once. We figured if someone was going to invade us, we might as well learn from their equipment, Bennett explained. It seemed practical. Thonrak's skin color changed to a bright orange, which meant he was extremely alarmed. Commander Zixthor, explain to me how you failed to gather any intelligence about this species before invading their planet. Our scans showed they were primitive. Zixthor protested. They use combustion engines for transportation. They burn fossil fuels for energy. They have not even colonized their own moon. Every indicator suggested they were hundreds of years away from being a threat. Actually, Captain Price said, speaking up, we have 6 colonies on our moon, 3 bases on Mars, mining operations throughout our asteroid belt, and 17 deep space monitoring stations scattered around our solar system. We just do not advertise their locations. Why not? Vrina asked, genuinely curious. Admiral Morrison's expression became serious. Because in a universe full of unknown species, some of whom might be hostile, appearing weak is excellent camouflage. We learned a long time ago that predators go after prey that looks vulnerable, so we made sure we looked vulnerable while actually being very well prepared. You deliberately deceived anyone who might scan your planet? Thonrak asked. We call it being smart, Morrison replied. You call it deception. Either way, it kept us safe until we were ready to reveal ourselves. Your commander forced that revelation earlier than we planned. The council members looked at each other with growing concern. They had just learned that a species they knew nothing about had defeated one of the galaxy's strongest military forces. A species that was clever enough to hide their true capabilities. A species that seemed to have no fear of fighting. What else can you tell us about humans? Thonrak asked carefully. Morrison smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. I think we have a lot to discuss, Magistrate. Perhaps we should start from the beginning and talk about what Earth really is. The council members settled back in their seats, tentacles or floating positions. They had a feeling they were about to learn something that would change the galaxy forever, and looking at the confident human standing before them, they were not sure if that change would be good or bad. Commander Zixthor just wanted to disappear. He had invaded Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, he had started something much bigger than anyone could have predicted.